The silent graves. The golden spires of Zephyros Prime gleamed under three suns as Ambassador Krelvar entered the Grand Assembly. His crystalline form caught the light, casting rainbow patterns across the chamber floor where representatives from 47 stellar nations had gathered. Today marked the centennial celebration of what they called the Great Cleansing, though Krelvar preferred the official term, the Human Extinction Event. The Supreme Chancellor of the Zephyron Empire raised his ceremonial staff, and silence fell across the vast hall. His voice echoed through translation matrices, reaching every species in their native tongue. 100 years ago, the plague known as humanity was erased from existence. Their worlds burned still, monuments to what happens when a species refuses to accept its place in the natural order. We gather today not to mourn, but to celebrate the peace their absence has brought. Krelvar shifted uncomfortably. Unlike his peers, he had studied human history extensively. Something about their story had never quite fit the narrative. The humans had fought desperately, yes, but their final days had been strange. Rather than the chaotic collapse one would expect, there had been an almost organized retreat into their core systems. Then, nothing. The Allied fleets had found only empty worlds, abandoned cities, and the occasional automated defense that fought with mechanical precision before falling silent. The celebration continued for hours. Holographic displays showed the bombing of Earth, the destruction of Mars's orbital shipyards, the collapse of the colony on Proxima Centauri. Each image brought cheers from the assembly. Yet Krelvar noticed something others had missed. In every recording, human ships could be seen jumping away just before the final strikes. Where had they gone? The official reports claimed they were destroyed in transit, but no debris fields had ever been found. 3 days after the celebration, Krelvar received an encrypted message at his private station. His subordinate, a young Thraxian named Velk, appeared on the screen with all four eyes wide with fear. "Ambassador, we've detected something in Sector 779. The dead sectors, sir. Energy signatures unlike anything in our databases." The dead sectors. Krelvar knew them well from his studies. A vast region of space that had been quarantined for centuries, long before humanity's rise. Ancient automated beacons warned travelers away, speaking of spatial anomalies and ships that entered but never returned. The humans had been the only species brave or foolish enough to establish outposts near its borders. Those outposts had supposedly been destroyed along with everything else. "What kind of energy signatures?" Krelvar asked, his voice carefully neutral. Velk's mandibles clicked nervously. "Organized, sir. Rhythmic. Almost like a heartbeat. And there's more. Our long-range sensors picked up what might be movement. Large objects, possibly ships, but the readings keep shifting. It's as if something is interfering with our equipment." Krelvar made his decision quickly. "Prepare my personal cruiser. Tell no one else about this. If the Council learns we're investigating the dead sectors, they'll recall us immediately." The journey took 3 weeks through conventional space. As they approached the quarantine zone, Krelvar noticed his crew becoming increasingly agitated. The Thraxians clicked their mandibles constantly. The Vorhash engineers reported system malfunctions that mysteriously fixed themselves. Even the ship's AI seemed hesitant to proceed. Then they saw it. At first, Krelvar thought it was an asteroid field, but asteroids didn't move in formation. Asteroids didn't have running lights that blinked in synchronized patterns, and asteroids certainly didn't respond to their presence by turning in unison to face them. "Sir," Velk whispered, "those aren't asteroids. They're ships. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands." The vessels were unlike anything in the Zephyron databases. Massive angular constructions of black metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No visible weapons ports, but Krelvar had the unsettling feeling that the entire hull might be weaponized. They hung in space like sleeping giants, waiting. A transmission cut through their communication system, overriding all security protocols. The message was simple, broadcast in perfect Zephyron standard. "Ambassador Krelvar, we have been expecting you." The voice was impossible. It was human. Before Krelvar could respond, space itself seemed to ripple. A ship materialized directly in front of them, so close that collision alarms screamed. It was smaller than the giants in the distance, but no less intimidating. Its hull bore scars from battles that should have been fatal, yet it moved with predatory grace. "This is Captain Marcus Webb of the United Earth Remnant Fleet," the voice continued. "You are about to learn that extinction is a matter of perspective. We invite you aboard. Refuse, and you may leave unharmed. Accept, and you will carry a message back to your empire. You have 60 seconds to decide." Krelvar looked at his terrified crew. Every instinct told him to run, to report this to the council immediately. But the scholar in him, the part that had always questioned the official story, needed to know the truth. "I accept," he transmitted. The human ship extended a docking tube that connected with an efficiency that suggested they had studied Zephyron vessel designs extensively. Krelvar crossed alone, despite Velk's protests. The airlock cycled and he stepped into a corridor that should not exist. Humans lined the walls, not the savage primitives the propaganda described, but beings in advanced combat. It's armor that hummed with barely contained energy. They stood perfectly still, weapons lowered but ready. At the corridor's end stood Captain Webb. The human was older than any Krelvar had seen in the historical records. His hair was gray, his face marked by scars, but his eyes burned with an intensity that made the ambassador step back. This was not a defeated species. This was something else entirely. "Welcome to the Revenant," Webb said, gesturing for Krelvar to follow. "That's what we call ourselves now. The dead who refuse to die. Your empire's attack a century ago didn't destroy us, Ambassador. It freed us." They entered a vast command center where humans worked alongside technologies Krelvar couldn't identify. Holographic displays showed star maps with territories marked in red. Every major Zephyron world was highlighted. Trade routes, fleet positions, defensive installations, all mapped with terrifying precision. "How?" Krelvar managed to ask. Webb smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Your people made two mistakes. First, you assumed the dead sectors were empty. They're not. They're filled with something far older than your empire, something that was waiting for the right species to find it. Second, you gave us exactly what we needed, a reason to unite and a century to prepare." The captain gestured to the displays. "For 100 years, you've celebrated our extinction while we've been here, building, learning, evolving. The technology in these sectors is beyond your comprehension. We've mastered it. Every ship you saw is crewed by humans who've been training since birth for one purpose." "War," Krelvar whispered. "Justice," Webb corrected. "Your empire burned 3 billion humans on Earth alone. The colonies you destroyed housed another 5 billion, but you missed something. The generation ships we sent into the dead sectors decades before your attack, the deep space mining operations, the research stations. Nearly 1 billion humans survived, and we've been busy." Webb walked to the main display, which shifted to show the entire galaxy. Red dots began appearing, first dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Each one marked a human presence. They were everywhere, hidden in nebulas, asteroid fields, the spaces between stars. "This is the message you'll carry back," Webb said, his voice carrying the weight of 100 years of preparation. "Humanity lives. We are no longer the scattered tribes you attacked. We are united, armed with technology your science can't explain, and we have had a century to plan our return. The age of your empire's dominance is over. The age of reckoning has begun." The Iron Phoenix rising, Commander Sarah Chen floated in the suspension chamber, her consciousness drifting between dreams and tactical simulations. For 93 years she had slept this way, her mind connected to the vast neural network that linked every human survivor in the dead sectors. In her dreams, she commanded fleets, planned strategies, and waited for the signal that would wake them all. The signal came as a whisper through the network. "The ambassador has made contact. Initialize Phoenix Protocol." Sarah's eyes opened. Around her, Tenthos, Hughes and other chambers began their wake sequences. The massive station, hidden within the gravitational shadows of a collapsed star, hummed to life. This was Fortress Alpha, the first of humanity's rebirth centers, and Sarah was its commander. She emerged from the chamber, her body immediately adapting thanks to the genetic modifications they'd all undergone. The alien technology from the dead sectors had changed them, made them stronger, faster, more resilient. They were still human, but evolved for a single purpose: survival through strength. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Colonel James Park, was already at the command console. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces as he brought systems online that had been dormant for decades. "Commander, all stations reporting ready. The fleet awaits your orders." Sarah looked at the tactical display. Across the dead sectors, similar scenes were playing out. 12 fortress stations, each commanding a fleet of ships built with hybrid technology, human ingenuity merged with ancient alien knowledge. The numbers were staggering: 50,000 warships, 3 million combat personnel, and weapons that could crack planets. "Send the activation code to all cells," Sarah commanded. "It's time for the galaxy to remember that humanity doesn't die easily." Meanwhile, in the Zephron Empire's capital, chaos reigned. Ambassador Krelvar stood before the emergency session of the High Council, his report causing panic among the assembled leaders. The Supreme Chancellor's crystalline form had turned a deep purple, a sign of extreme distress. "This is impossible," the Chancellor raged. "We confirmed their extinction. We destroyed their worlds, hunted down their ships, eliminated every trace." "With respect, Supreme Chancellor," Krelvar replied, "we destroyed what they wanted us to find. The humans we fought a century ago were buying time for the others to disappear into the dead sectors. They sacrificed themselves so their species could survive and grow stronger." The military commander of the Zephron fleet, Admiral Thexar, stepped forward. His 6 arms gestured dismissively. "Even if these remnants exist, they cannot stand against the combined might of the Empire. We have 40,000 ships, the greatest fleet in galactic history." As if in response to his boast, every communication system in the chamber activated simultaneously. The same message played across all frequencies, in every language of the Empire. "Attention Zephron Empire and allied nations. This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Human Survivors. You have 1 solar rotation to evacuate all military installations from the following systems." A list appeared showing 17 strategic locations across Zephron space. Each one was critical to the Empire's defense network. The message continued: "Compliance will result in peaceful relocation. Resistance will be met with force you cannot comprehend. You believed us extinct. You were wrong. We are the children of Earth, forged in the fires of genocide, tempered in the darkness between stars. We have returned not as conquerors, but as judges. Your verdict depends on your actions in the next 24 hours. Admiral Thexar laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. "They dare threaten us? Deploy the 3rd and 5th fleets immediately. We'll finish what we started a century ago." But Krelvar had seen the human ships, felt the power radiating from their technology. "Admiral, please reconsider. These are not the humans we fought before. They've changed, evolved. Their technology—" "Silence!" the Chancellor commanded. "We will not bow to extinct primitives playing with stolen toys. Admiral, destroy them all." The Zephron fleets jumped to the first contested system, expecting to find a small force they could easily overwhelm. Instead, they found something that defied their understanding of physics. A human ship, no larger than a cruiser, sat alone in space. As the Zephron fleet of 2,000 vessels emerged from hyperspace, the human ship did something impossible. It unfolded. What had appeared to be a single vessel revealed itself as something far more complex. Panels shifted, structures expanded, and within seconds it had grown to the size of a small moon. Energy readings spiked beyond anything the Zephron sensors could measure. Then it spoke with Sarah Chen's voice. "This is a fortress ship, one of 18 constructed by humanity during our exile. You were warned. Your fleet has 30 seconds to surrender or be removed from existence." Admiral Thexar, watching from the command ship, ordered all weapons to fire. Thousands of plasma beams and kinetic projectiles streaked toward the fortress ship. They never made contact. A barrier of pure energy absorbed everything, not deflecting but simply erasing the attacks from reality. When the 30 seconds elapsed, the fortress ship responded. Ports opened across its surface, revealing weapons that looked more like works of art than instruments of war. They fired once. The space around the Zephron fleet warped, twisted, and then snapped back. When reality stabilized, every Zephron ship was intact but completely powerless. Engines, weapons, life support, all systems were dead. "Your crews have 6 hours of air remaining," Sarah's voice announced. "Surrender, and we will tow you to safety. Continue to resist, and you will serve as a monument to the price of genocide." From her command center in Fortress Alpha, Sarah watched as similar scenes played out across the Empire. Humanity's fleet had not needed to be massive. Each ship was a masterpiece of hybrid technology, capable of feats that seemed like magic to species that had grown complacent in their power. But the true revelation came when human ships appeared over every major Zephron world simultaneously. Not attacking, just present, hanging in the sky like dark angels. The psychological impact was devastating. The empire that had celebrated humanity's extinction now found human vessels casting shadows over their cities. The Supreme Chancellor, facing the complete paralysis of his military and the panic of his population, finally asked the question that mattered: "What do you want?" Sarah Chen herself answered, her image appearing in every home, every communication device across the Empire. She was no longer the young officer who had entered stasis. Her hair was white, her face marked by the burden of command, but her eyes held the fire of justice delayed but not denied. "We want acknowledgement," she said simply, "acknowledgement of your crimes, reparations for the worlds you destroyed, and most importantly, your signature on a new galactic charter. One that prevents any species from attempting GE. No side again. You will dismantle half your fleet, convert your military-industrial complex to civilian purposes, and accept human observers in your government for the next century." "That's slavery," the Chancellor protested. "No," Sarah replied coldly. "Slavery is what you intended for us before you decided extinction was easier. This is consequence. You have 48 hours to decide. Accept our terms, or we will demonstrate what a century of preparation truly means." The demonstration came 12 hours later when the Zephron Empire refused to comply immediately. A dead moon in an uninhabited system was selected. Human ships surrounded it, their weapons charging with energy that made space itself ripple. They fired in perfect synchronization. The moon didn't explode. It simply ceased. Where once a celestial body the size of Earth's Luna had existed, now there was nothing. Not debris, not dust, just empty space. The message was clear: we can do this to worlds. Ambassador Krelvar, who had become an unexpected voice for peace, stood before the council one final time. "We created this situation. Our arrogance, our cruelty, our assumption that might makes right. The humans learned from us, and they learned too well. But they're offering us something we never offered them. A chance to survive, to coexist, to build something better." The debate raged for hours, but the outcome was inevitable. The Empire's entire fleet was powerless, their worlds under the shadow of human ships, their technology outclassed by centuries. The Chancellor, his pride shattered, transmitted the surrender. Sarah Chen received it from the bridge of Fortress Alpha, surrounded by the men and women who had given their lives to this moment. She felt no joy, only a grim satisfaction. Justice had been served, but the cost had been immeasurable. "What now, Commander?" Lieutenant Colonel Park asked. Sarah looked at the star map, showing human fleets positioned throughout the galaxy. "Now we do what humanity has always done best. We survive, we adapt, and we make sure this never happens again, to us or anyone else." The galaxy had learned a fundamental truth that day. Humanity might bend, might even break, but it would never truly die. From the ashes of their burned worlds, from the darkness of extinction, they had risen stronger than before. The Phoenix was no longer a myth, but a promise, written in the stars and enforced by fleets that had emerged from the dark. The age of empires built on genocide was over. The age of humanity's watch had begun.